that's the most important part, is checking with your attorney to say, hey, here's kind of what I'm doing. What do you think? Am I in compliance with the SEC? That's going to be the most important thing, is talking to your attorney and getting your attorney to basically give you a yay or a nay.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, real quick before we get started, first of all, I wanted to thank everybody for joining us on the show and for listening. To all my loyal listeners, I really appreciate you, continuing to listen and support the show. If you can go on to iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you listen, and subscribe to the show, that would be fantastic. Spread the word too. I'd love to, have this reach more and more people. So if you could share it on social media or and just talk about it to other people, that would be fantastic. And the last thing is, if you can go onto iTunes and give us a rating review, hopefully 5 stars, that would be great as well. It just helps us spread the word more, and it helps us continue to get really good guests on the show. We've had some fantastic guests, and I just want to be able to continue to bring fantastic value to you. Go onto our Facebook page too, Pillars of Wealth Facebook page, and I'd like to hear from you as a listener of what you're doing in business, what you've got going on, what you are maybe struggling with or being successful with, and then what we can do on the show to help push you to that next level. Maybe questions we can ask our guests, maybe guests that we can get on the show to talk about certain topics, certain things that are really you're needing some extra support with. So provide for us some feedback on Facebook, and you can also share this out on social media. That would be fantastic as well. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being a either new listener or a loyal listener. I definitely appreciate it, and we will get started with the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Hump Day Hustle, the show where we focus on business and real estate as our core pillars of wealth creation. My name is John Stiles with Bridge Realty, and I'm excited for another great episode. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get yourself arrested when raising private capital. So with that,
I like that. That was a great.
Here's our host, Todd Dexheimer. Todd, are you enjoying the weather out there in California?
I am, although it's been cloudy and overcast, and it's about 60 degrees right now, so it's not as warm as what I was hoping it would be. But
okay.
Hey, it's better than 40, which I would probably be getting back at home. Although it does look like tomorrow is going to be a beautiful day back home. So I'll be down in LA tomorrow. It'll be nice and warm down there. It sounds like it's going to be closer to 70 there tomorrow, with maybe even some sun. So I haven't seen the sun since in California, and everybody tells me this is rare. So
Wow. And by the time people hear this episode, I'm sure what you're doing there will be done. But why are you in California?
Well, mainly to meet with my investors, and this is going to actually play well with our episode today. But I've got a decent amount of investors between San Francisco and LA, and I just wanted to meet with a lot of them. Wanted to take the opportunity to go travel over here, and then I also set up some meetups while I was here. And so last night I had a meetup. Today I've got another meetup in San Francisco, and then I've got a meetup in LA. So doing that, potentially getting some other people that want to be investors, or also I do some coaching, so if they want to take maybe advantage of that as well. So, and building relationships overall is definitely a great thing. But so right now it's basically forming relationships and strengthening the relationships that I already have.
Okay. And are you partnered up with somebody out there, or is somebody hosting your meetups, or are you just?
No, I actually did my own, which I would have rather. This is a week I could go. This is the only time I could go. And so I would have rather been a part of other people's meetups, but nobody was having meetups that worked into my schedule. So I said, I'm going to do my own meetup.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. It's the first time I've ever done a meetup, actually. I've never done a meetup back home. So I've never done a meetup anywhere. This is the first time. So it was, yesterday was good. Today I've got a decent amount of people showing up. So hopefully it goes well.
Cool. Very good. Well, let's get into the topic of raising capital without getting arrested is what we really meant to say. So
yeah.
What are some of the basic concerns? I mean, why should somebody be worried about this?
Sure. Well, I think the biggest thing, I mean, there's a lot of, concerns, right? We want to make sure that we're disclosing everything properly. We want to make sure our legal work is done properly, and with a lot of detail. We want to communicate well with our investors. All that stuff obviously is extremely important, and it definitely will help help us not get into trouble, get sued, all that kind of stuff. But what I've seen a lot of people doing, and this was actually posted by an attorney on Facebook recently, is that, and she's seeing the same thing, is that there's a lot of people that aren't really building relationships, and they're kind of just generally soliciting and saying, hey, I've got a deal, come invest in my deal. And that's okay if you're doing the right type of offering, right? So if it's a 506C, you can do general solicitation. If it's I did a score offering the last time I did that, I could generally solicit to Minnesota investors that were not previously, didn't have previous relationships with me. But the most common type of offering is a 506B or similar. And with those offerings, you need to have a pre-existing relationship. And so that's where people are getting in trouble. People are saying, well, they're on my email list, or they're Facebook friends with me, or they're LinkedIn connections. So, I think that's a pre-existing relationship. Well, that's not really the case. You have to have more than that. And I think that was the, what the attorney said as well. Like, it can't just be a Facebook connection, or you can't just advertise on Facebook and get people. So this particular case, this person only raised, I think it was like $560,000. Is that correct? You remember?
Yeah, I saw that post too, I think, and it referenced 567,000. Yep.
$567,000 they raised. And most of their people that they're raising from were not previous existing relationships. And so obviously that's not complying with what the SEC says. And her big point was, look, they're not just going after the big people. A $567,000 raise, that's not a big raise at all. That's probably the borderline, even, is it even big enough to even do a securities offering? So yeah, they're going after anybody who's just not complying, and you're an easy target if you're advertising on Facebook. Very easy target.
Right. Yeah, that's easily tracked. So, you mentioned 506B is the offering that you cannot advertise, correct?
Yeah.
And so, but that's also the one that's most often used. Is that correct?
So, yeah, right.
And is that because, the ability to advertise or generally solicit has just become more recently available, or why wouldn't you just pick the offering that you can advertise?
Well, a few reasons. One is it's more expensive. At least my conversations with the attorneys is it's more expensive to do. There's more compliance. With the 506C, you can only take accredited investors, and you have to have them basically checked out. Are they actually accredited? With the 506B, they're the ones checking the box Now, not that you want to tell your investors ever to lie, like I wouldn't do it, but it's easy, right? I don't have to have them actually get kind of proven to be accredited. If they tell me they're accredited, they can check a box, and it's a trust thing. Where in the 506C, there's no longer the ability for trust. So you do lose some investors that don't want to go through that loophole. They think it's a pain in the butt. They've got to, there's a few ways, and I can't remember off the top of my head. I mean, you can get yourself audited. You can have your CPA do it, and there's I think there's one other way. I can't remember off the top of my head. But either way, you can only use accredited investors, so that limits if you have some friends or family that are non-accredited but want to invest. They're out, right? It doesn't matter if they're already relationships; they're just out. The geese are flying overhead. That was beautiful.
Is that you squawking there?
Yeah. I'm in a park. I was just trying to find a good spot to sit, and coffee shop obviously would be way too loud. So yeah. It's beautiful out here though. So I think that's why the expense and just some of the restrictions on the 506C. I've looked at potentially doing a 506C. Obviously the good thing with the 506C is you can advertise, and it allows you to get your brand out there more. It allows you to be able to, there's a lot of people that might be interested in investing in your deal that don't necessarily, they maybe know of you, but they don't necessarily have enough of a pre-existing relationship to invest with you. So it gives everybody a fair opportunity that's accredited, gives them all a fair opportunity. So, that's definitely a benefit. I know there's people that probably know of my name and, would potentially invest in a deal that don't have a relationship with me if I advertised it publicly. And so that's where that benefit comes in.
Okay. So then for the vast majority of the people that are using the 506B and they can't generally solicit. So then, what can you do? Is it, you're almost like your hands are tied or your tongue is tied, or how do you actually get investors involved?
Yeah. Form relationships, fly out to San Francisco, LA, host meetups, meet with your current people on your list, be interviewed at podcasts, on podcasts, go to conferences, go to your local RIAs, do all that kind of stuff and just talk to people. But what you can't do is so I'm out here in San Francisco, right? And I've got a current deal going on. I can't tell, and I've talked about it a little bit on my podcast. I can't have somebody that I don't have a relationship with invest in this deal. It's just not, I just can't do that. If somebody heard me talking on this podcast and didn't have a relationship with me and called me up and said, hey, I want to be part of this deal that you got going on, I would have to say, I'll put you on my investor list. Let's have some more conversations. But you can't be a part of this deal. Same thing. I'm out in the San Francisco area right now, and I had a meetup yesterday, and I didn't talk at all about the deal that I've got going on. But I did have some people at that meeting, talk to me about potentially investing, and I can't have them invest in this deal. It's just something I just can't do. And could I? Sure. But I would be then non-compliant with the SEC, putting myself and all of my investors, quite frankly, in jeopardy. It's just not worth it. So what can you do? Network, get out there, build relationships, build true relationships with people. I think that's really important. Is, a phone call is great. And then some emails and just staying in contact with people, making sure they can get to know you as best as possible. And so there's a gray area. I would talk to your attorney and get comfortable with what pre-existing actually means. Do we have to sit down and meet face to face? Most attorneys, or every attorney I've talked to, says no, that's not necessary. Is it one 20-minute phone call? There's like was it one 20-minute phone call and that's your only contact? I don't know if that's pre-existing enough. And how long ago was it? Was it just like 2 weeks ago and now you have an offering? Probably not, but was it, did you have maybe a couple phone calls? Have you sent some emails back and forth? Are you connected on social media? And then has it been, long enough, maybe 3-4 months, where you've kind of had that warming period, I guess, of getting to know each other a little bit. Then you're probably talking, okay, we might be okay. Again, everything I say here, by the way, I'm not an attorney. John, you're not an attorney, at least not that I know of. And so that's the most important part, is checking with your attorney to say, hey, here's kind of what I'm doing. What do you think? Am I in compliance with the SEC? That's going to be the most important thing, is talking to your attorney and getting your attorney to basically give you a yay or a nay, or to give you advice on what else you can do to make sure that you're being compliant. Because if the SEC comes knocking, the last thing you want to do is trying to figure out how to prove that you've got these relationships built when you maybe didn't.
Yeah. And these are rules set up because there's been bad actors in the past and people have been taken advantage of, and it's to protect the consumer, which is the investor. And if you think about it, everybody's going to have a better experience with the investment if you do have that pre-existing relationship. If there's some really good expectations set up front and who you're working with.
Well, and John, quite frankly, I mean, why wouldn't you want those relationships with don't you want to know who's investing in your deal? You want to weed out the people that are going to be a pain in the butt. So if you have a couple conversations with some people and you go, this guy or gal is just not somebody I want to have as a partner, then don't let them invest in your deal. But if you haven't ever had a relationship with them, they could be a pain in the butt. And that's the other kind of, not necessarily risk about a 506C, because you can still get to know people, right? If somebody pledges to your property, you can still have several phone conversations with them, make sure they fit the type of investor you want. But just having that relationship is helpful for you as well. They understand what you're doing and you understand who they are. So I mean, just good all around.
Yep.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and I want to mention a few things. First of all, I've been doing some coaching, and I want to continue to kind of expand that slowly and take on a few clients. And up until recently, I didn't really believe in coaching and taking courses and stuff like that. But I recently, or I shouldn't say recently, it's been a few years now, hired a coach and saw immediate results and have been very happy with it, and decided, as my teaching background, I wanted to do some coaching myself and help other people get the results that I was able to achieve. And so if you're at that point where you think that's the spot for you, or maybe you just want to explore if it's right for you, reach out to me. I'd have a free discovery call with you. We want to make sure that it is the right step for you to take. There might be other things that you can do to get success, and coaching might not be it. But let's have that discovery call to find out if that is the step that you need to take. So it can really make a major impact in your business and get you to that next level. The other thing is John Stiles. He's on this show every single week with me on the Hump Day Hustle. And John Stiles is a real estate agent in Minnesota, and he will help you find a good investment property. John is very knowledgeable and can help you find an investment property. It can also help you sell your investment property. So reach out to John Stiles with Bridge Realty and connect with him. He'll also, consult with you and make sure you guys are the right fit. So give him a call if you're in Minnesota. Reach out to him. He'd love to help as well. Back to the show.
So one other thing we wanted to talk about related to this is, what if you want to raise money for somebody else's deal, and how can you get into trouble if you're doing that, or what's the proper way to actually be involved with that?
Yeah, and that's a big question, because a lot of people are doing this right now, and some people are doing it right, and some people are doing it wrong. So if you are raising money for somebody's deals, you need to be a broker. You need to have a broker license in order to do that. And if you don't, you can't raise money for other people's deals and actually get paid for it. So how could you go about bringing money into somebody's deal and getting paid for it? You'd have to become part of the general partnership. Okay. But it's not quite as simple as that. So that's what people are doing. And that's how they're doing it wrong, is they're saying, hey, you can, I can raise money. Maybe I can come up with $1 million. And the guy goes, okay, you come up with $1 million, I'll give you whatever, 10% of the general partnership. So that's wrong. At least what I've been told by attorneys. You can't do that. Now, what you could do is, if they're a part of the general partnership and they do bring money into the deal, you can allow them to be part of the general partnership, but they also have to have other roles in the general partnership. They have to be able to do other things. They have to be able to make decisions. They have to be part of some of the quote unquote day to day. Doesn't mean they have to do everything every single day. No, but maybe they are part of the due diligence process. Maybe they are also, along with the due diligence process, maybe they're looking over the record keeping, the books, every single month or every quarter, and going through and making sure checks and balances are in place. Maybe you give them a role to do some asset management. So other roles, I think, are the most important thing, and having a clear definition of what they are doing within the company, within the general partnership, I think is going to help you stay out of trouble. So can they just raise money and that's all they do? The answer I've gotten is no. That's not okay. And that's happening a lot, and they're getting parts of the general partnership. So are they more involved? Do they have more of a role? I think that's probably the question. And again, talk to your attorney. If you're going to bring somebody in to help you raise money, talk to your attorney about how that can work out properly to where you're going to be SEC compliant and nobody's going to get in trouble. I think that's the biggest thing, is your attorney should have an understanding of, okay, well, maybe we should have them do a little bit more. Maybe their involvement needs to be here. Make sure they're not being paid based on, just the money that they're bringing in.
Yep. Well, and this goes back to having a really good business plan. And if you have different roles detailed out in your business plan, and then you're starting to plug people into those roles, then it's very obvious, well, this is what this person is doing. Yeah, they're bringing in some money, but they actually have a job here.
Yep. Yep.
So.
Yeah, it's just important. Obviously, we're raising money from investors and other people's money and their savings, and they don't want to lose it. And if you're getting sued or you're getting sued, or you're getting fined by the SEC, that's no good for your investors. You're putting everybody's money in jeopardy. So do it right. I think that's the most important part. I mean, everything you do, you should be doing it right. Why try to skirt around something and potentially get caught and get in trouble for it? So just make sure you put the things in place to, stay out of the SEC's radar. I think that's the most important part. And again, I've said it plenty of times, have your attorney involved, and that should help you stay out of the SEC's radar.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think most of us don't really like to talk to attorneys. I mean, that usually means our wallet's getting a little bit lighter, but they're the experts in this. They're the ones that know the process, the rules, and it's worth paying so upfront now to do things the right way, so you don't get caught doing things the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, the Facebook attorney, I don't think she'd mind mentioning, is Jillian Sidoti with Trowbridge and Sidoti. And, you know, they know what they're doing. My attorney, who I've had on here, Zach Robbins, with Meserly and Kramer, he knows what he's doing. So talking to the right attorneys and understanding what you can and can't do is going to be really important. And you're going to need them anyway, right? They got to draft up the PPM and the subscription agreements and your LLC docs and all that kind of stuff. So you're going to need them anyway. You might as well get them right from the start to make sure what you're doing from start to finish is the correct way, and not finding out after the fact, after the SEC is coming down on you that you didn't do it right.
Right. Yeah. Good. Very important points there. So,
yeah. I mean, I feel bad for this it was a young guy too. I think he's like 26 or something like that. Young guy. I feel bad for him, but you know, at the same time, he should have really been cognizant of what he was doing.
Yeah. Do you remember what the penalty is that he got himself into, or?
No, I can't remember the exact amount of fines that he got, but you know, it was plenty of money.
Right. Very good. Okay. Well, anything else we should cover on this topic here?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to just talk about, is just making sure you're, you know, in anything you do, obviously, that you're compliant with what needs to be done. And in this case, raising private money, be compliant. We've been focusing mainly on syndications, but there's other people that are raising private money and they call it a joint venture, and it's truly not a joint venture. It should be a syndication. There's people that are raising private funds for, you know, doing a flip, but they're potentially raising them improperly. So just be careful as you're raising private money that you're doing it properly. You know, again, not advertising publicly if you're not supposed to be, and understanding what you're actually offering. Is it a securities or not? You know, there's, you know, something very important to understand. You can't just have partners that put money into the deal unless it's securities, or that becomes a securities.
Yep. It's always interesting when you go to some of those RIA meetups and people stand up during their haves and wants section saying, yeah, I'm looking for money for my deal or whatever, you know. It's like, I don't know if that's the right thing you should be doing there.
Yeah. And you can talk, you know, there's certain, I don't know if you can exactly say I'm looking for money, but you can openly talk about needing private money or using private money or taking investors in your deal. But it can't be about a specific deal, right? And you have to do it right. There's right ways and wrong ways of doing it. So, you know, if you say, hey, I'm looking for money on a deal I've got right now, well, that's obviously wrong. But if you're talking to people and you say, you know, if you want to be on my investor list, I'd love to have a conversation with you and sit down and maybe have some coffee with you or something like that. You know, that could be properly done. You know, that you might be okay doing that especially if you're not offering a deal right at that time to them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, well, very good. If there's nothing else, you know, we encourage our listeners and viewers to participate in the conversation. If you learned something today, you know, let us know. If you would like to, if you have a question on this, you want to go deeper on it, you know, comment below on the YouTube video, or go ahead and make a post in our Facebook page, Pillars of Wealth Creation, and we'd love to have the conversation with you there.
Yeah, and John, we're going to link on the show notes the episode we did with Zach Robbins. That way, if anybody wants to listen back to that episode they can. He talks a little bit about some compliance things that you should be aware of as you're doing a raise. So I think that would be a good episode. We can just link that to the show notes. People can click on that and listen back to what Zach has to say as well.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thanks, John. Have a fantastic rest of the day back in Minnesota, and we'll talk to you soon. Oh, by the way, did want to mention today, and we don't have all the details, but we're going to have a real estate conference along with the charity event. It sounds like September 20th and 21st, I believe. So that'll be coming. All the details will be coming out soon, but if people are interested in that, it's going to be in Minnesota. It's still going to be warm enough. So come to Minnesota when we have beautiful fall weather at that time. It'll probably be, 70s, maybe even 80s. It'll be beautiful at the time. So come in to the Twin Cities, and we'd love to have you at the conference. If you're already living in the Twin Cities, of course, you're just there. But we'd love to have we're trying to get a lot of people here. We're going to get some great guest speakers. We're going to do a charity event in the evening after one of the days. So more information will be coming soon, and we'll be linking that, of course, to the podcast, and it'll be all out there. So.
Yeah, that's going to be great. So watch for more details to come soon.
Awesome. Hey, we'll talk to you soon, John. Make every day a Saturday.
You too.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Couple things before we go. Again, go on to our Facebook page, Pillars of Wealth. We'd love to have you on there. Go on to iTunes, give us a rating and review, and subscribe to the show. Also, don't forget, reach out to me if you want any help with potentially growing your business, and reach out to John Stiles to help you buy or sell real estate. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Have a fantastic rest of the day. And as I say, make every day a Saturday.